Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the DCL Duo Podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And we're going to skip the reviews today because we need to get straight into our guests. Sam, intro the guest.
We have such a fabulous guest today, you guys. Like, you are not going to believe. This is a big get for us. We've got Sheri from Cruise Tips TV joining us today, and I'm like just fangirling out right now. I'm super excited to have you on the show, Sheri. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian and Sam. I was actually feeling the same way because we all know y'all are the Disney authorities, Disney cruise authorities, and I've never been on a Disney cruise. So I am so excited to be here with you, and I know that we're going to have fun. I know we're going to wing it and just go with it, and I think that always brings some special surprises.
Yes, we are. Yeah. And we love that too. It's just like, it's so fun to like cross over content with other like cruise content creators like yourself, Sheri, because it's like we're all kind of experts in different spaces, right? For us, like really, we are deeply I don't even know what the right word is, into Disney Cruise Line. And we just kind of branch out. Like we dip our toe in the water of like Royal Caribbean. We dip our toe in the water of like Virgin Voyages, but we do not know like all there is to know out there about other cruise lines. You are big in covering like a lot of different cruise lines and providing tips and tricks for cruisers who are interested in sailing on a bunch of different cruise lines. And so we're like so amazed that people like you exist in this world, like, because there's just so much out there, you know?
There's so much out there, and I feel like I'm not a cruise expert, and I don't like to position myself as a cruise expert because the moment I think I've got something figured out, the industry changes, a cruise line will change, and there's just so much evolution all the time with cruising, so I like to say I'm a student and not an expert. So we're learning together.
I love having folks like you on, Sheri, who are, well versed in other cruise lines. Because my biggest pet peeve sometimes is that, we're Disney people. Sometimes we get the blinders on, and everything that Disney does is great, and everything everyone else is doing is not. And I have appreciated our cruises on Royal, on Virgin, on other cruise lines, so we can see kind of what they're up to, and then translate that back and say, this seems like, there's a better experience over here for some, or this cruise line really feels like they're getting it right in this area in a way that Disney's not. So I always love to help educate our audience on what else is out there and available, so they spend their vacation dollar wisely, I guess is the way to say
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Sheri, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, how you got into doing your show, where you sort of started your love of cruising in general, like where did that come from, and yeah, and how long, and exactly what you do in the. Obviously, we know what you do, but I don't know that all of our audience is familiar with you.
I know it's kind of confusing too because you were saying earlier that all of us have sort of different models with content creation, and I feel like it's so true. We all do things differently. So I was born and raised in California, but 2 years ago moved to Texas. And then backing up a little bit here, I went on my first cruise for my high school graduation present. My mom packed up me and my little brother, who's 4.5 years younger than me, and we went on like Carnival Ecstasy. And back then, it was like Kathy Lee Gifford was the spokesperson, right? And cruising was like it was not something I heard about. I was like, "A cruise ship? What is that?" And I was completely in love with it. My mom let me go scuba diving when I was, like, 17 in Grand Cayman. She let me do a resort course through Carnival, and I was like, "What is this world? This world where I can go to Grand Cayman and my meals are all cooked for me, and I get to dress up, and it's just wonderful." That was in, like okay, now y'all are gonna know how old I am here, but I think that was 1991. And so, yeah, back when cruising, all the ships were small, nobody had a balcony, right? If you had a balcony, you were a high roller in, like, a suite, and it had, like, mahogany wood in there, right? So, we had, like, the bunk beds, my brother was on the bottom, I was on the top, and we crammed 3 of us into a little ocean view, but I fell in love with it in 1991, and then life happened. Went went to college, started kind of getting into the two-income professional working life, and my husband and I were like, "Go, go, go," kind of finding our way in our careers, climbing the ladder, whatever. And I would always tell him, I just really want to take you on a cruise. It's this cool romantic experience. And I think you would love wearing like a tie to dinner and dressing up. But alas, instead we did other things. We're like, let's go to Paris at Christmas and let's do this. And I kept thinking, you know what? This is all great, but we've done our backpacking thing. We have done Paris at Christmas. My ATM card got stuck in there in a Parisian ATM. And I was just at that moment, I was like, I'm done. I want to go and relax on my vacation. I'm tired of like trudging around trying to figure out the train schedule in Europe. Let's relax. And so we booked a princess cruise to the Mexican Riviera, and I was right. My husband was like, "Whoa, this is great. I am down with this." He loved going to dinner, dressing up just as I thought. He loved the traditional elements of it, and much like I'm sure you feel when you're on a Disney cruise where it's like the ocean liner feeling, like you could actually go for a walk on that deck, and it was romantic. It was beautiful. And so it was many, many years later. That was in like 2003-ish, probably something like that. About 10 years later, we'd had our son and we were sitting at our suburban dinner table. And my husband's like, I feel like we have a lot to share about cruising. It's like, what if we made a YouTube video? And I looked at him, I was like, what's YouTube? Isn't that where people like post videos about their cats and stuff?
I mean, yes, it
Yeah,
is, but also
right. But also, and so, but we, at that time, we'd started to get a little bit more adventurous in the way that we were handling our careers. I was still doing the corporate thing, and he was staying home and taking care of our son. So all of the work that he did was going to be freelance, and he had a little bit more time to think creatively, whereas I was still stuck in that 8 to 5 bubble, and I was in leadership, so I never thought of doing anything else, never would have even dreamed of it, and at that time, I didn't either, but we did make a goofy packing video where I, like, popped out behind a 76-inch suitcase. It was huge, you guys, and I was like, "I'm Sheri," and I had
I
no
need to
idea
go.
what I
I'm
was
gonna
doing.
find this video, by the way.
Oh,
Now that you're telling me about this, I wanna
oh,
find this packing video.
it's so bad, Sam, it's so bad. And and anyway, we did it, and the YouTube channel started to grow, and we're like, maybe we could do this once a week. This is kind of fun." And it just morphed, right? Our audience would tell us what they wanted. At the time, every video we did was a script. Like that awful packing video was I would read a script. You should pack a huge suitcase. You should make sure that you take hand sanitizing wipes. Like it was like, but people were like, you need to vlog. Nobody's vlogging about cruises. And I was like, why would I do that? Like, this is my vacation. I don't want to turn the camera around on myself. Plus, what am I going to say? But they wore us down. There really were no vloggers at the time. There were maybe one or two travel vloggers who might have gone on a cruise here and there. So we're like, all right, we'll do it. And we did. We tried it. And then we really pushed hard into the vlogging world for probably a good 3 or 4 years. And it was fun, but it's also exhausting. So ultimately, after COVID, really had to reevaluate our channel and think, okay, is this sustainable? Because first of all, we couldn't go on a gazillion cruises a year. I had a corporate job, couldn't do it. It was, and maybe 3, maybe 4, but then what else were we doing for content? So we pivoted a little bit and went back to the basics of our channel, which was educational content for the most part, whether it's how to pack for this, what to do the moment you book your cruise, what to do 7 days before your cruise, the granular details, almost like if you were to write a manual about cruising and then putting it in video form. So that's the heart of what we do. My passion though is packing. I love talking about stuff you can buy for a cruise, Amazon stuff. And so I lean very heavily into the Amazon side of things, and that's a really big part of our business too. The Amazon influencer program is really great for creators, and part of that
Can you
is
just
because
pack for me for Alaska? And we're gonna be going to Alaska in at the end of August, and I just need somebody else to do that for me. I will tell you, Sherry, I'm gonna go obviously onto YouTube and find your packing for Alaska specific video content because I know obviously that's very different than packing for a Caribbean vacation. But that's where and it's funny, we live in the Pacific Northwest. So like I should kind of know what I'm doing. I mean, I have all the stuff. I shouldn't have much that I need to actually buy, but I'm still like how much do I need to bring? Exactly what do I, you know, like, anyway,
Well,
I
let's get
digress, but
real. Let's get real. We all overpack for cruises.
oh, I always
I haven't met
overpack.
someone yet who doesn't overpack.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I
always,
know.
always, always overpack.
I have
Absolutely.
weird unconventional advice for you for Alaska. And this is like this it's not like a cover your ears thing, but your audience is gonna be like, "Well, that's a bit TMI." But do you know what you need a lot of in Alaska? You live in the Pacific Northwest, you're already wearing what you need. You need jeans, layers, so shirts, hoodies, a rain layer. You do need a beanie and a scarf in case it gets a little sub cold, because sometimes you just get a weird cold front. And then really the only other thing you need for that is waterproof you need some kind of a waterproof shoe that's not gonna leak. Like, you know how sometimes your sneakers have air vents? You don't want those. You want like a light hiking shoe, light hiking boot, or just a waterproof sneaker and binoculars. Other than that, you're done. But the weird thing that people underpack, are you guys doing Disney?
Yes, of
Yes.
Do
course.
do they have laundry on Disney? Do they have laundry?
We
Yes.
do. So that's the one
Okay.
thing where, like, you're gonna say underwear, I bet, right?
I'm
Like,
gonna say underwear and socks and T-shirts
yeah.
Yeah.
And
'cause it
that's where we're usually good
problem
because I
about
don't
the
pack for
laundry.
a full week, but I do laundry. Yeah.
So if someone's going on Norwegian or Royal Caribbean, though, I would have to say you're probably gonna maybe not do laundry your whole time. So you need to double up. You need 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, and a couple T-shirts a day, and then you're fine. And everything else just falls into line, and you can buy it on the ship if you forget it. Like, they all sell windbreakers and scarves. Every cruise ship has really great apparel these days. But, yeah, you know.
I got a really cool, Disney Cruise Line did a crossover with Helly Hansen for jackets, and so, like, I have this, like, Helly Hansen Disney
It's
Cruise Line
such a
jacket.
nice one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm, like, super excited to wear on that cruise, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
that is so amazing. And the other thing is it's a quality product too. So you're gonna be
Right.
more comfortable, you're going to be dry, you're going to be warm, and that's what you're looking for, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. How many
That's
Absolutely.
Sherry, I'm curious, how many cruises have you been on now?
I think in the neighborhood of 50-ish. Not an exorbitant amount really, if you think about it. And, I left my corporate job 2 years ago, but prior to that, we were doing family cruises. It would be 2 to 4 a year. And when things were tough financially for us, we went through a few rough patches with the economy. We would do maybe 1 cruise a year, so it's picked up a little bit for me since I'm a little more full-time now, but, a lot of times I'll still go solo, like I went on the Virgin Voyages cruise by myself because my son's not old enough and, he had to get through school, and so sometimes I'll do them solo.
Brian asked how many cruises. I'm curious, like, which cruise lines have you been on across those 50 cruises? And then if you can give us some idea of like which ones you've been on sort of more, like where have you sort of sailed the most? And then,
Mhm.
yeah.
Numbers-wise, like days at sea, I've cruised the most on Princess, and I love Princess. We're kind of old at heart in my
Yeah.
family, and
Well,
I'm not
and you
saying
like to be
that.
a little fancy, I get,
And
with
it's
your
also
husband
just
wearing the tie.
yeah, kinda traditional, right? I've noticed though that on a Royal Caribbean cruise, people are just as fancy. It's just a little bit of a different vibe, right? I mean, there's no rock climbing walls, but the pools are enormous. You're always gonna get a chair. So we've sailed the most with Princess, quite a bit on Carnival, especially in the earlier years. When our son was little and when I was younger, it was like, that's what you do, you go on Carnival. Also, as a West Coast resident, when I was living in California, we had Long Beach for cruises, and you always had great fun going on Carnival ships out of Long Beach. Didn't even have to fly. Just like you guys with Seattle, you can totally go up to Alaska. So those are the 2 that I've cruised with the most. I've actually sailed a lot with Holland America too, and they're one of my favorite cruise lines. They're very similar to Princess. They do have a really nice complement of smaller ships, though, which are very special for places like Alaska. Probably similar to a Disney experience, though, like where you have, again, that ocean liner feeling, where you're a little closer to the sea. It's not 6,000 people, and it's more of an intimate experience in a beautiful, intimate, like, place with all that nature. We've sailed a lot with Royal Caribbean and Norwegian, but less so than the others. And I've sailed with MSC 3 times, Virgin once, Oceania once, and Seabourn once. And I love them all. I've never had a bad cruise. The only time I went on a cruise that I didn't really like is it was a 2-night cruise, and it was too dang short, and that was like torture.
You can't
But
I mean, you can't even experience, like, the ship. You don't even, like, leave knowing where, like, the buffet is, I feel like, if you're on a
thank you.
two-night cruise.
Yeah, right. Yes.
What's the cruise line
Exactly.
you haven't tried, Sherry, that you really wanna try?
Ooh,
Disney, Brian.
Well,
totally.
no.
Disney, yes. I want to try Disney. It's usually hard for me to justify the price with Disney. I know you hear that all the time. It's like, "Okay, could I go on 3 cruises or could I go?" But I have heard so much about Disney from interesting sources. For example, I was talking with an Alaskan shore excursion provider, a big one, and they told me the standards that Disney holds their vendors to, and I was like, "Hmm, that actually sounds really great." So I know that we'll do that someday. I'm interested in river cruising as well. Very interested in expedition types of lines. It's really just a matter of when can we do it all, right? I'd like to try Viking Ocean. Might do that sometime when my because right now there are no kids, so I might go with my husband someday. But there's quite a few. I also love the luxury lines. There's a few more of them that I have not tried yet, like I haven't tried Silver Sea. And after being on Seabourn and Oceana, I'm getting a little taste. Oh my, and the MSC Yacht Club, wowza. Those are really something, and you feel so rejuvenated, when you get home from something like that. It's like spending a week at a spa. It's great. Yeah.
I'm curious across like the cruise lines that you've been on, like who do you sort of think they're for, right? Like which demographic? Because like obviously, like we know, like Disney has a couple different demographics. I would say. I think Disney is great for multi generational cruising. Disney is of course, known for hitting that sweet spot of family cruising, particularly with younger kids. And then there are just these crazy Disney adults, who go on Disney Cruise Line. It doesn't matter what age they are; they're just obsessed with Disney, and so they go on Disney Cruise Line without children. And so I think those sort of categories are like those are strictly, those are Disney's sort of wheelhouse. But some of these other cruise lines, I think our audience maybe doesn't know as much about who these cruise lines are for. Like Princess is a great example, since you've been on Princess a lot. And then you said, what was it, Norwegian, that you've been on quite a bit as well. So like with those cruise lines, like who would like would you say that they would cater to that same audience, or is it a different audience, you think?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of crossover, and you'll talk to people who have done they've done a Virgin cruise, they've done Carnival, they've done them all, and they like to dip their foot in the water. So it's hard to give that breakdown because at the end of the day, those cruises could also feel really different from week to week. Like, for example, if you're on a spring break cruise on Princess, it's gonna feel like a party cruise, like a Carnival cruise, even though it's not normally, right? But
Yeah,
I'll
but it's
I'll
really
try to give my
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's always an interesting thing to try to break down. So here's how I like to think of it. Carnival for me is always gonna be like America's cruise line, right? They're the value leader. They put a lot of money into marketing. They wanna be kind of an all-American experience, and they really do provide the best prices. But MSC is playing that game
Yeah,
with
they're
right
coming
now.
for Carnival's audience right now, aren't
You
they?
better
Yeah.
believe it. Yeah, there's that. And they do offer some incredible pricing. Like, you can get a 7-night cruise in the Caribbean for very yeah, I don't even know if I could go to the grocery store and, for those prices. Like,
Well, I mean, you can't
MSC is
leave
doing
Costco for that amount,
no,
at
you
least.
cannot.
Maybe the grocery store, but not Costco, at
Not
least in
Costco.
my opinion.
Yeah, but they're doing a great job and they're a contender. I think the thing with Carnival, people have to realize is those sailings are really sensitive to the length of the cruise. So, like a 2 or 3 nighter on Carnival out of Miami is gonna feel like the biggest party you've ever been to in your life. And then you could go on a Carnival Journeys cruise and it could be 90% retirees. So you have to know that it's not super like, it's not necessarily the same thing across. But, they offer something for everyone, and Carnival's still fun. It's still one of the most fun cruises from the sail away party out on deck with an amazing cruise director focus. They're really focused on the cruise director being a big part of the cruise, and they do a good job with that. So then if we were to talk about the other big ones, obviously Royal Caribbean's a little easier. I think of Royal Caribbean as, for the most part, for people who have kids of all ages, baby, like infant to teen, who wanna go, 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 right? You wanna do it all. You wanna be on that flow rider, on that rock wall. But they have smaller ships that go into the Norwegian fjords. I mean, what can I say? You can do it all. with Royal Caribbean, but cutting edge, obviously, we know they've got the cutting edge technology, the entertainment. They have really good dining, a lot of good specialty dining, and I think Royal Caribbean is, I mean, they're killing it right now. They're not the value leader right now, though, right? They're going to be more expensive, and that has shifted since the pandemic because of supply and demand, I think mainly. I think Norwegian is pretty similar to Royal Caribbean in the fact that their ships, their newer ships, are these beautiful vessels. They're just a little smaller, they're a little more intimate. They might be a little better for couples, and honeymooners and even retirees because there's gonna be maybe a little fewer children in Norwegian than Carnival and Royal, but we're still talking about, like, the big 3 here, like the mass market, the family lines. They're still sort of, a family focus, and then we have to talk about the fact that Norwegian and MSC have their ship within a ship concepts, and those are a really big draw for people who wanna go on a mass market line, but they want to sail in Norwegian's Haven or MSC's Yacht Club. And those are exceptional experiences for people who have a little more disposable income, but still like they want to be able to go out and experience the buzz of the ship, but then retreat back to that. So that's another little genre in and of itself that is wonderful and a great option for people who maybe aren't ready to go full luxury cruise, but they want to go out and still socialize and see children by the pool. I've had people tell me that, and they're in the yacht club. They're like, "Yeah, I can bring my kids in the yacht club. Like, I can bring my children in the Haven." But if you go on Seabourn or Oceana, there's gonna be nothing for them to do, right? So there's that element of it too. Princess, Holland America, and Celebrity, I don't wanna lump them together, but for time's sake, you gotta think of them as, like, the premiums, right? So they're like mass market, but they're premium. So Celebrity caters to a slightly younger demo than Princess and Holland America, and kind of a working professional demographic sometimes. Some people would say that it's like your 45 to 60-year-old still working, putting money away in that 401k, kind of working professional-ish, but this could be, this could be argued with for hours. People will tell you, "No, no, 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 they seem like they're 80 years old," or, "No, when I was on Celebrity, everybody felt like they were on their honeymoon." So again, there's exceptions. Princess and Holland America are pretty similar in their demo. Their ships are focused on having a lot of space per individual. So you'll go and you'll have a lot of nice places to lounge and sit, and the food quality tends to run really high. On Celebrity, Princess and Holland America, it tends to be pretty good. And the service is outstanding on Princess and Holland America. I can speak to more than Celebrity. I haven't done a Celebrity cruise, but the service tends to feel very warm, and the accommodations are just a little bit more elevated as well. With Holland America and Princess, you're gonna find that you kind of sink into that bed. You might get a bathtub in your room. You're gonna have a little more space. Things are a little more elevated. I think for the mass markets, that's pretty much the breakdown. And then, with luxury, it's kind of, difficult to talk about because they're all catering to that sort of same audience. You've got the high income retirees for the most part are gravitating towards the seaboards and the oceanas, but they offer some wonderful products too, and a totally different experience, and the ability to sail into smaller locales, which changes the cruise experience and makes it somewhere, like almost like a cross between an expedition and a mass market at times.
I am so curious. So you have seen cruising evolve over a number of years. You talked about, going on the ships with the formal nights where people dress really formal. I mean, I remember renting a tuxedo to wear.
Yeah, when we went
Uh,
on Celebrity, you and your dad rented this was so, Sherry, this'll age us. This is before we had our son. We went, the year we got married, we went, 2008, and then in 2010, we went, with Brian we went both times with Brian's folks, and so they took us on Celebrity. And, one cruise they were both like 14, night cruises or whatnot. One was Hawaii and one was Panama Canal, fantastic. But Brian and his dad rented tuxes. So, yeah, sorry, Brian, I
Actually, no,
interrupted.
I think I bought that tux.
Oh, that's right. That was the one.
That was the
Yeah,
tux I purchased from JCPenney just to own a tux for
that's right.
cruising. Yeah, yeah, it had belt loops on it, and my tailor was like, "Yeah, this is not a tuxedo." I was like, "Oh, let's just cut those off." But anyway, you've seen the evolution of cruise. I mean, the ships are getting bigger. The activities on board. I mean, when we sailed Celebrity, it was dinner, maybe a variety act show, a bar, something like that, but they didn't have kind of the level of entertainment that they have today. Like, what do you see as like is that a positive trend for cruising? Because a lot of these ships, they don't look like ocean liners anymore. They don't feel like ocean liners anymore. So I don't know. How do you view this trend and all the change that has happened, as you've sort of watched cruising?
It's hard because most of it is financially motivated, right? Some of it might be guest motivated, but the part that I think I'm seeing right now that is the most disturbing to me in a way is that the casinos are kind of just getting bigger and they're taking over a bit more, and that seems to be more of a focus on cruise ships. So, bearing in mind, consider the source. I like the old school cruising. I do remember the tux rental thing. You could do it on the ship. It was great. And I'd like to see the cruise companies building mid-sized ships that still retain a little bit of that classic cruising. I think that's one thing that I like about Norwegian right now. If you notice, like Norwegian Aqua and Prima Viva, and their new ship that's coming out, Luna, they're not massive mega ships. They're harkening back a little bit to a big amount of outdoor space and that mid-size charm. So I think there's hope. I think there's hope, but I don't like any of it. I think the biggest bugaboo for me second to the casino thing is the crowd feeling, right? Like they're booking 3 and 4 people into a room. They're overbooking in the case of some cruise lines, who I will not mention, that, did that for a wee bit there, and it's just not cool. You need to come home from your vacation feeling refreshed, and I want cruising to continue to offer that for me, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna start looking at lines where it does. And I think that everyone will move towards that transition as we age. You're starting to look for something different in your vacations. As our kids get older, you start to look for different things. So I hope that I hope it stabilizes, and I hope that some lines will keep it simple.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. One of the reasons we love sailing Disney is they don't have casinos on the ships, which just it just kind of takes the air out of it a little bit. It makes it feel much more welcoming. I think sometimes. I'm curious. You mentioned as we're getting older, but I was just I've been reading some news stories about the cruising industry, and it seems like cruising is having a moment with the younger generation now in a way that I don't know that it ever hit for Sam and I. Like, Sam and I went on Celebrity with my parents. It was kind of this, wow, this is something we'll do in retirement kind of thing, or when
We
we're
were in
in.
our late 20s at the time, or I was in my late 20s, Brian was in his very early 30s. Like, he was, like, 30, I think, on that first that was my first cruise. I
Yeah.
was, I think, 27 at the time.
But I think we thought about it as something we would do, but it seems like the younger generation is starting to really enjoy cruising. I don't know, Sherry, is that something you're seeing or that you have any thoughts about?
You bet. I think it is something that we're seeing, and I think that the cruise lines are really smart to target that generation in a different way, right? So, where the younger generation might be looking for more exploration, a little bit more discomfort in their travel, exotic destinations, doing meaningful things on their port days, right? We saw a few cruise lines evolve with their humanitarian type of shore excursions. I think that that focus is one of the reasons why, because cruising has changed and there really is a cruise line for everyone. So someone in their 20s wants to go on Virgin and party at the beach club at Bimini, they can do that, but yet they can have maybe an enriching shore excursion in the Dominican Republic. So I think a lot of it has to do with smart marketing over time. And also just the fact that cruising is taking a little bit more of that market share of the whole travel enchilada, right? Like, right, cruising really only holds like 2% of this like massive, massive beast of a market. And so I think the cruise companies will continue to do everything and anything they can, because isn't that their future, Brian? Like seriously, you're right. If they don't do that, they're in trouble. The problem with it is that sometimes it peeves their loyal fan base. So, if you have Princess, for example, going a little too let's just say changing things too much. Trying to put like attractions on a top deck, maybe bringing in entertainment that's a little bit less what people are used to. The loyal fan base is going to start thinking, well, maybe I belong on a different cruise line. So they have to balance that and still grow their up and coming customer base while they are satisfying the loyal cruiser.
Yeah, it's such a hard balance. I'm curious about like I feel like Virgin is doing that, but Virgin is a new cruise line. So they are like trying to tap into this sort of I think a younger, obviously it's a younger market that they're targeting, but obviously without kids. Either you leave your kids at home or you don't have kids, right? So it's a lot of the double income no kid crowd. But I also think like you can see how they're different with, like, dress code, I think is a perfect example. I'm curious what you think of that, and I don't just mean for guests, I also mean for crew, right? Like, it's a very different vibe when you look across, like, Princess and Holland, and then you look at and even Disney, and then you look at Virgin. Virgin's doing something very different on dress codes for crew and passengers. I'm curious what you think about that trend and where that kind of maybe even came from.
Remind me too, Sam, to talk a little bit about Virgin because I did not mean to omit them when I was giving the rundown, and I think that we think it's a very valuable thing to talk to people about. But to address the dress code and almost like the crew vibe too, I think it's awesome because I think that the vibe that you are setting up for the whole entire guest experience starts with the crew, with the officers, so to speak, with whatever staff is leading it. And Virgin doesn't even have a cruise director staff, right? They are totally tearing down the rules of cruising and saying, nope, we're not doing that. We have a drag queen that's going to lead you through the week and you're going to love it. Even if you think you're not going to love it, you're probably going to love it. And the guy serving you pizza at the pizza joint is probably gonna have an arm cuff of tattoos, and they embrace that, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the industry right now is there's still something for everyone, and I think the cruise lines need to lean into it. They need to lean into what their identity is, and provide that for their employees, but then also for their guests. If this is what your guests want, lean into it. If your guests need to have the more, buttoned up black tie experience, lean into that. But it's cool that there is a lot more diversity in that area, in my opinion, because that's how we're going to grow the industry in general is bringing in new people who maybe didn't think they would like a cruise because heck, they don't want to dress up, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, Sherry, you mentioned talking about Virgin. Go ahead. Tell us, give us your thoughts on Virgin, because I'll tell you, we went on our first one. It was like a 4-night sailing last year. Sam went in fairly excited. I went in pretty skeptical. And we talked to a bunch of people heading into it, and I think we both walked away from talking to those folks with very different sort of like, theories about what the cruise is going to be like. I think we both ultimately enjoyed the cruise. I mean, we enjoyed it enough. We're going back here in like 2 weeks for a week-long version of a cruise with Virgin, but it was very different. It was very different. The ship was different. Everything was different about it. So yeah, I'm curious your thoughts overall about Virgin.
That's interesting that you say you tried a shorter one and then you're doing a longer one. I think that's smart, by the way, because it'll give you more of a full experience. But you guys did like it? You thought it was good?
Yeah, I mean, we to be fair, we sailed Mega Rockstar, so there's not much you can't enjoy about being on Virgin when you're sailing Mega
We're a little
Rockstar.
bougie, Sherry. I
Yeah,
gotta tell you, Brian and I, we on Disney, we normally sail regular, but we also have sailed in their concierge, so their ship within a ship concept as well. But we tend to lean towards the slightly bougie end of things. We like a luxury experience. Yeah,
Did you guys have like a turntable in your room?
we
Like
yes,
a
did.
record
yes,
player?
Yes.
Come on,
yes.
Yes.
really?
Yeah,
Yes. And a full
I'm so
bar. Yeah.
yeah.
oh,
And we
I
barely touched
I
it, by the
I
way.
could go yeah, I'm sure. Like, you don't really need to because
Yeah.
there's bars everywhere that make amazing cocktails. Why would you wanna mix your own in the
Right,
room?
that's what I said to Brian. I said, "Why would I make my own drink? I'm gonna go to the bar and they're gonna make me a drink."
Our friends gave us the tip, just have them stock it with a liquor you really like to have at home, and then every day you just take the bottle and you put it in your suitcase, and then they bring another one, and no one asked any questions about it. I was like,
That's what I would have done. I would have been checking that bag so fast.
yeah.
No carry-on
Yeah,
only for me, that cruise.
yeah.
That was a great idea. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to your podcast about this topic, by the way, because I definitely wanna hear more about your take, but I was so incredibly pleasantly surprised by Virgin. I know I just gave you the punchline before I gave you the story, but, I did a 5-night one. I think I did what did I do? What was it called? Oh man, I've forgotten the ports. I don't even remember, but it was a 5-nighter out. I know it wasn't that kind of cruise. Don't worry about it. It
It
wasn't
was
like
in the
that.
Caribbean.
Yeah,
It was
I
thank you. It was in the
yeah,
Caribbean. We went to Bimini for sure,
yeah.
right? We did the beach
yep.
club at Bimini, and that was really fun. Okay, so I was like Brian, I was skeptical, and there was a couple of reasons why. I didn't know if I would fit in, first of all. I was like, "Oh, I can only cruise a lot on Princess," and I feel like
That's
they
what
were
Brian was worried about too.
yeah,
I'm
like,
also an introvert, and I was like,
okay.
Yeah.
So is my husband, hardcore, and so what we make cruise decisions based on that, and you should. You shouldn't go spend your time off doing something you don't wanna do. Like, how's that red party gonna feel to an introvert? My husband would have hated it. So, okay, yes. All right. So backing up, sorry. This is a great conversation. I went into it thinking I was too old. I was too uncool. That's the funny thing too. I was like, I'm gonna be like, this like matronly mom on there, and everybody's gonna be super hip, and I'm gonna feel like a total fuddy duddy. So I went into it. I packed like my coolest dresses and um, you bought some new things, bought a red dress, and was like, okay, this is an adventure. Let's go. And on the first day, like the second I walked on the ship and I saw who was really on this cruise, I was like, oh, no way, I'm going to be fine. This is just a little sampling of humanity, right? There are traditional cruisers on there. There are a lot of people who I feel like for Virgin, the thing is, it's like they want to have this adult playground for the week. They want to play. They don't want kids around, but they want to walk around kind of being the kid. Like, I think of dressing up for the red party as one example of that. You can go to like a stand and get like bedazzled like a kid. Like when you go to a carnival and they have the lady with the face paint, you get to be that kid that week, but you get to be a grown up. But they do these playful, fun things that you would never expect. And the whole cruise sort of feels that way. I mean, the entertainment for me was a little on the raunchy side. I just don't feel like I need an F bomb in every single show. So I was really glad as I progressed through the cruise that there was a good variety in that. I just started to steer clear of some of the really late night ones where I was like, okay, this is maybe not for me, but I loved some of their entertainment. The dual reality show, the one that's like the Romeo and Juliet kind of deal, West Side Story, that was phenomenal. I still believe that's one of the best shows on a cruise ship that you can go to. It's so cool and it's like a sensory experience. The food, outstanding. The galley that's not a buffet. I love that. They're like, "It's not a buffet." Well, it's a food court, but okay. Outstanding.
That's a great way to describe it. It is a food court, so it's kind of like a buffet, but not quite a buffet, not exactly a buffet. Yeah.
With maybe a
It's
little
just
bit
crew
better
served.
quality than
Yeah, it's
if
kinda like
yeah.
a yeah.
But I did really love the food. I thought that the wake was great. I love Gun Bay. I thought it was all really wonderful. I found that the restaurant reservation system was a little confusing for me. I was like, "Okay, well, I'll keep working with this," but I loved the staterooms too, and I know that the staterooms are very controversial for people where they think, "Well, they're so sterile. It looks like I'm at IKEA." I found them to be very functional. Found the bed to be one of the most comfortable I've ever cruised in. There are some weird things that look like you can't really get cozy in the room, but really they're there for a reason, and I think they've morphed where they've added a few little elements to make it more comfortable, and then lastly, I mean, who wouldn't want a hammock on their balcony? Like, to me, this is the thing about Virgin that people think it's cool, but when you get on the ship and you sit in that balcony on that balcony in that hammock for the first time, you will realize you could spend hours a day in it every day and make that like a central theme of your cruise of just like, I took my Kindle and I sat in that hammock and I found peace again. And I think there's like that's those secret sauce moments on Virgin that happen where you realize, no, this ship is something I can make my own. I can make this cruise my own. It does not have to be me out on the dance floor at red night with the drag queen. It can be whatever the heck you want it to be. And it's fun and wonderful. And I cannot wait to cruise with them again. And I highly recommend it to people who want a child-free experience and who are a little bit more okay though. You got to be a little okay with raunchy. You don't have to embrace it, but it's going to be around you a little. So you kind of do need to be aware of that.
You just don't need to live it. Like that's so we I will say like we in our lives are quite conservative, and I don't mean conservative politically. I mean conservative in sort of what we do in our lives. Like
I'm not sure I'd say that. I'm
we
not
go
sure
to
I'd say
escape
that.
rooms like for
We're
fun, okay?
we're
Like that's
nerds. We're nerds. We're not
yeah.
conservative.
You're
Well,
We're
that's what
nerdy.
I
yeah,
mean. We're
yeah.
kinda nerdy, like, we don't go out to clubs, like, we're not going
Right.
out to clubs and dancing and going out to bars at home, and, we're going to escape rooms, we're going out to dinner with friends, think we go to go to the theater, things like that, like, that's what our
Yeah.
sort of normal life
And you're
looks like.
probably in bed by, like, 10 most nights, and
Yeah.
right, like that, and you can still love Virgin and be that person.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So we like but I'm okay with other people doing things that are maybe I wouldn't do, and, they're not forcing me to participate in any of it, and so it's like I might see them and pass them by on the ship. That's sort of, I think, what you mean.
I had sort of like 3 as you were talking, Sherry, I realized I had sort of 3 takeaways from the Virgin Cruise. 1, the introvert in me actually didn't mind Scarlet Night, but it was because we did this, like, tentacle tour thing that was, like, a small group where they led us around the ship to see all of the cool stuff, and so, like, that made it more like, "Okay, I'm part of, like, a little group, not part of this, like, massive, like, sea of people," which really helped me a lot. Your comment about the stateroom is just so spot on. I have not spent more time in a stateroom on a ship than I think we did on Virgin, and it was because, like, it's relaxing in the stateroom, and I feel like I can just sit here and enjoy myself and, like, not feel like I'm missing out on something. The one interesting thing, the only way that I think we found ourselves feeling really out of place was I feel like our mega rockstar agent, like, expected us to not be up as early as we were, like, I felt like he felt like we weren't asking him to do enough stuff or, like, bring us things, like, I think he expected us to be in our stateroom a lot more than even we were. It was really weird. We'd have these interactions with him where he would be like, "I stopped by and you weren't here," and it's like, "Well, yeah, we're out enjoying the ship, like, isn't that what we're
Yeah, we
supposed
were
to be
out
doing?" And,
having
like
breakfast, right? Like,
and
well,
he's
no,
like, "But I
we
can
were up
bring
for
you breakfast." I'm like,
yeah.
Okay." Like,
We were
so
like
it's
but we were up for breakfast at 9. I think he was like, "Some of your shipmates are not up until 2," right? So, like,
yeah.
it's just a different
Oh.
vibe, right? Just a different
You should just mess with them next time, Brian. You guys should take disguises, like you're like celebrities, and be like, I need to have an escort when I'm going to the red party. What you can really do for me? Forget the alcohol, I just need an escort. I'm going to be wearing my like, that is hilarious. They treat you like a rock star.
totally treat you like a rock
Oh,
star,
yeah, when you show up to the
absolutely.
port, there's like they send a car to pick you up. They bring you to the port. There's a red carpet when you get out of the car that you walk down and you check in with the agents and everything, and then you are the first on the ship. Like, there's, like, I don't know, maybe 25 to 30 people who are in Mega Rockstar, maybe
No,
not
there's
even
not
that.
even, Brian. I think there's only, like, 16
Yeah,
rooms or
and basically
something
they
that
walk
are
you past everyone else as you board to let them show, like, these people get on first, right? And
yeah.
I was
And then
like
the rock stars get on after you. So mega rock
yeah.
star is, like, one category, and then rock star is the next category, and
Well,
then
but
plebes. No, I'm just kidding.
Mega Rockstar, they take you to your room, and you're supposed to wait in your room, and your agent will come and take care of all of your needs, whereas the Rockstars, they put it like a bar together, and they have people moving around and, like, helping them with things, and so I'm like, it's it is an amazing ship within a ship experience, if you've got the disposable income to do it, like, I highly recommend it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing, and then you have that Richards rooftop area that you also had access to, right? Like, with the bar and the beautiful hot tubs up there and all the cozy seating.
Yes, it was way too hot though, so we didn't spend a ton of time up there. Like we did like the I wish that they had like a regular pool, like or a little plunge pool instead of just the hot tubs because it was just too hot to be in the hot tub. So we would like lay out, we'd find a spot in the shade and lay out on one of those. They have these beautiful loungers, these beautiful round loungers. So it's a lovely place certainly to like relax. It's just if it's really hot out, you don't really want to be in a hot tub. Feel like that ship that's going to Alaska, there's going to be a Virgin ship sailing out of Seattle to Alaska. I think that's going to be an awesome experience. I would love to. I mean, we're going to Alaska as I mentioned for our first time, and we're sailing with on Disney, and our son's going to be with us. So obviously we can't do Virgin with an 11-year-old, but I do think I could see us in the future. Like I could see a situation where it would be lovely to sail on Virgin to Alaska. I'm curious, like, so you know a little bit about us now. We told you we've sailed on a little bit on Royal, a lot on Disney, once on Virgin, going back on Virgin, a couple times on Celebrity. Like, you are an expert on these other lines. Like, which line that we haven't sailed would you say, like, "Oh, Brian and Sam, like, you seem like you would fit in, I don't know, Princess or Holland or Norwegian or Seabourn?" I mean, because we are a little bougie, so, like, w
I don't know if we're
I don't know
seaborn
if we're
bougie.
that I don't know if we can afford
I
that
know where
bougie,
I'm
but
putting you. I know,
yeah.
yeah. I know. I'm putting y'all in the Norwegian Aqua, specifically that ship, or Luna in the Haven. The Haven is phenomenal. The food is, I can't even say it's a 10 out of 10 because it's like a 75 out of 10. It is exquisite. It's family friendly. There is a private infinity pool. Above that, there's another deck with private hot tubs. The accommodations are outstanding. You will have a butler. The butler is slightly more hands off, probably, than your rock star agent. However, it is so hard once you cruise in the Haven. It is so hard to do anything else. I spent just 3 days in it, and they had to haul me out of there kicking and screaming. I fell head over heels in love with it, and I can visualize you guys in it, and your 11-year-old would also be very, very comfortable. Then you can take him out and let him enjoy the go-kart track. Like, who wouldn't wanna go go-karting at sea? So I mean, without any hesitation at all, that would be my choice for you. I would highly recommend one of the newer ships for you though. Aqua, which is already sailing, or Luna, which is coming out this fall, I believe. I think you would love it so much. And then you also have Disney has great entertainment. Y'all are spoiled here. Okay.
We
So
are so spoiled on
you're super
entertainment,
spoiled.
and
Yeah.
I have super high bar for entertainment. I will tell you, I thought Royals entertainment was,
Meh.
I mean,
Oh,
meh.
Aqua 80s.
Oh,
Aqua
the
80s.
Aqua 80 show on Oasis was fantastic, but other than that, everything else, I was like, "Ugh." Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's where the newer ships are gonna come in with Norwegian because they bring the best in I mean, let's be honest, most cruise lines do this. They put their star teams on the newer ships. I don't necessarily agree with that, but they have the Prince Revolution show, which is outstanding. So good you might wanna see it twice. They have a Fleetwood Mac cover band that performs in the theater, and they have some really killer stage shows that will probably rival the quality, certainly not the theme. I mean, Disney is Disney, right? Like, you can't do a Disney show, but they're going to they're probably gonna scratch that itch, but they're also family friendly for the most part, and there's just so much to do on those ships. A lot of outdoor space, and there's also a lot of high-end dining. So, if you I don't even think I could get you to leave the Haven, but if you so wanted to go do steakhouse, you could do steakhouse French, you can do they have a food court style that your son will go crazy for because they order on an iPad, and every kid loves it. My 16-year-old is like, "Okay, mom, why are we talking to humans ever again when we order food? This is dumb." Like, right? Like, I mean, he was
Oh, I
so into
love
that, but
that.
the food on Norwegian, they have the biggest teppanyaki restaurant you will ever see at
I
sea. It
love
is
a
gorgeous.
teppanyaki.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? It's a mix. It can be bougie, it can be family. It can also be couples. It could be, a bachelorette party, but the decor is elevated as well all around the ship. You're going to see that. I think for you guys, let's give Princess and Holland America another 10 years. Also because I think there's certain destinations where I would go on them, especially Princess because their kids clubs are outstanding on Princess. It is my son's favorite kids club experience. It always has been, yeah. So if you guys ever wanna do an example might be Japan. I would strongly recommend that you do Princess, but get yourself a grand suite or some kind of a larger accommodation and go do Princess where they do it really beautifully. And I can promise you your son will just absolutely love the kids club. And he's about to go into a different age bracket in their kids club. I think they stop at 12 for, like, the youth, and then they go I into teen from 13 to 17, so could be a fun thing to look at. I would do.
I was gonna ask what's your son's favorite cruise line? Would he say Princess because he loved that kids club, or do you think there another cruise line that's his favorite for some other reason?
Yeah, he's gonna say Royal Caribbean because he's a go, go, go. He wants the Flow Rider, the Rockwall. He and my husband we're all very active, but they're, like, athletic level active. I'm, like, mom level active. I'm like, "I'll go to this activity with you, then I'm gonna go get a cocktail and lay down." right? Like,
Right,
yes,
right,
yo, you guys are
exactly.
on your own for the flow riding because I
Yeah.
twisted my neck last time and I felt it for 4 years. So I'm not doing I'm gonna if I'm doing it, I'm laying down on it. I'm not on my knees. I'm not standing
I
up.
couldn't even get up onto my
Right.
knees, Cherry.
No,
I
don't.
started out on laying on that thing, I never was able to get up. Nathan got up onto his knees,
On his
Brian got,
knees.
like, halfway up, like, it
I
was
got on my
yeah,
knees. I got up on my knees.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
I'm
I
just
just it's not worth it these days. It's
no,
like you have
yeah.
to
it's too
choose,
hard.
but I do love all that too. So he'd say Royal Caribbean, but then it's we do this destination by destination, right?
Yeah,
We just did back-to-back cruises with Princess in Alaska. He had the time of his life because Princess really does their children's programs. So it's like a misnomer out there. I don't think people understand how wonderful their leaders are and how big and pretty their kids clubs are too. And so he made 2 different groups of friends over 2 weeks. He typically ends up staying in touch with them after the cruise, and he loves it. But his favorite cruise of all time and destination is it would be Diamond Princess in Japan. Like, it's just hands down, cruising Japan was life-changing for us, so much so that he started taking Japanese lessons, and he's now in year 4 of Japanese. So, that it's the big picture for him. He'd be like, "Let's go do this in Japan, but then let's also do some time on land too," right? Because he's getting to be a little more into exploring, and I'm worried that he's gonna by the time he's 21, he's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, my parents were these old fuddy-duddies who dragged me around on all these cruises, and I'm so over it. I just wanna take a backpack and go to Europe," you know? And then he'll do that. He'll take the backpack and he'll go to Europe, and then he'll be like, "Well, that sucked. It was fun,
yeah,
but
it's
now I'm
gonna be
gonna
like,
go
I'm
back to cruising."
exhausted,
Yeah.
right.
Right, right, right. So he also does enjoy Norwegian but mostly I'd say Carnival Princess and Royal Caribbean are his favorites, but he doesn't spend time in the kids clubs much on Norwegian or Royal Caribbean. He finds them overwhelming. There's too many kids, and he's like, we can't even talk to anybody." So he usually will back off and just hang with us on those.
Yeah. It's funny, we have some friends who are, much on the younger side, and they were always like, "We can't cruise the Caribbean." Like, "Why do you cruise the Caribbean all the time?" Like, "We wanna go see the world." And I was like, "Because I've seen the world." Like, I've dragged my luggage onto Italia. I have, done all this stuff. So, like, I'm just ready to, like, go relax on my vacation and read a book for a while. So, yeah, yeah. Sherry, we would be remiss, since the title of your channel is Cruise Tips TV. I kinda wanted to ask you, what's the one tip you wish every new cruiser knew before they set foot on a ship? And what do you think, like, the biggest mistake that a new cruiser makes is?
Over planning.
Yes.
Right? Like, because a lot of us go into it with there's a type A planner in the family, and then there's your relaxed person who just goes along for the ride. That type A person is very likely to burn themselves out on that first cruise because they were like, "Okay, I gotta print the luggage tags. I'm gonna go on Cruise Critic and I'm gonna find the menus. I'm gonna decide what I want to eat every night. Then I have to," and they freak out. And they also plan a stinking shore excursion every day, and they end up exhausted. It's like, you know what? Leave a little room to sit on the hammock, to do nothing. Give yourself some space to breathe and just to look each other in the eye and realize you're at sea. You have just discovered this magical way of travel. You don't need to overprogram yourself. You don't need to book 50 specialty restaurants. You need to walk on the ship with a wide-eyed sense of wonder and just let yourself fall in love with it. And also, if you have a bad first cruise, this is a different tip. Be careful. Don't judge cruising as a whole. Think about what decision that you made. I feel like I'm talking to a teenager. Think about the decision you made. Right. Make sure that you made the right decision and know that there is a cruise for pretty much every personality, every travel style, every level of formality when it comes to like what we were saying about dress code and everything. So if you have a little bit of a bad one, maybe reevaluate and talk to folks who know a little bit about cruising. And that's particularly true if your first cruise was like a 2 or 3 or 4-nighter. There is no way to compare a 3-night cruise to a 7-night cruise. They are totally different from the standpoint of relaxation, from connecting to with your loved ones, being able to have that time. Maybe just put your phone in the safe if you can disconnect a little bit and go back to that classic element of what makes cruising so special.
That's such a great tip. It's funny, Sam and I swap roles, so I'm the type A planner coming into the cruise, and Sam is along for the ride, but the moment we get on the ship, Sam is go, 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 doing all this stuff, and I'm like, "Where is the pool and the lounger? That's all I need."
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true, but
Really?
it is, we completely swap roles, like, he does all of, like, the pre-planning, booking stuff, and but then once we're on the ship, I'm like, I wanna go see and do everything. Now, I will skip some things in order to get some relaxation in, but I do have a bad case of FOMO, and so if if there are things that are, like, really big or if there's things that are new, especially on Disney, like, to be fair, part of it is when there's things that are new, everybody expects me to go see them and do them, and so I feel like I have to. I don't wanna disappoint anyone, and so I do try and go, 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 go. But I also, like, when there are things that are new, I do it once, and then I don't necessarily do it again. If I didn't love it, I'm not gonna do it again, right? So I do have part of it is, that FOMO situation, but also, some of it is I feel like I have to try most things at least once. So I try to get some balance, but to Brian's right. I am a little bit too frenetic in that I try and do too many things. But funny enough, we give the same advice I think that you give about pacing yourself, and I also like, especially to new cruisers, I like to give the advice of, pick the one thing that you really wanna do on that day, right? And prioritize that over everything else and do that thing, right? Because there's, like, especially on Disney, there's, like, a million activities going on, and if you don't prioritize the one thing you want to do, you're gonna end up, like, missing it probably.
Well, and I think they're a big part of sailing on Disney is kind of that magic and whimsy that they bring into things, and if you're overscheduled, you're just gonna miss the random opportunity where Goofy's sleepwalking at night down the hallway, and, like, that's a fun thing to see, or Mickey's out on deck doing his exercises, in his
On the
running
running
outfit,
track, yeah.
yeah, because 'cause you're gonna be, in the D lounge doing trivia because, the 15th trivia of the day or whatever it is, right? So Sherry, I'm curious. One other question I had. Sam has already previewed her final question off air, so I will give that to her after I ask this question. Private islands. It seems like everyone is getting a private island now. It's funny enough. Disney was the first, and now Royals got two, three. Actually, they have three basically private, not private islands per se, but private destinations, including
Destinations, right,
yeah.
yeah, and some in development, yep.
Yep. What do you think about all of these? Like, do you think it detracts from the port experience? Do you think it adds to the port experience? Like, what's your thinking on these sort of more private destination experiences?
My personal opinion is I love them. I always look forward to it. I feel like it's controlled, and usually they're very clean. And if I just wanna get back on the ship and not plan anything for the day, I feel like I'm gonna have those basic creature comforts like a pool that I can go hang out in. I love my favorite of all of them, in case that's coming as a question, I gotta say Perfect Day at Coco Cay is outstanding. Royal Caribbean has just nailed it. And when we go there, we get the water park pass every time, and then we just go hard and try to hit as many slides as we can. It is so clean, the food is free, the drink package works on the island, thank you, Royal Caribbean, for that, and it is a dream come true destination. I've booked cruises on Royal Caribbean because they had 2 days there, I was like, "Oh, I'm doing that one." I
Ooh, a
love
double
them.
dip. Love that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're great, and then you have Norwegian has Great Stirrup Key and Harvest Key. I like Great Stirrup, and they even have bougie cabanas for you guys. So when you are on Aqua and you are in the Haven, you can get a cabana at Silver Cove and go live the cabana dream. But they're actually villas, I'm sorry. They're not. They're little houses with showers, but they're actually like, concrete structures. They're not really like straw cabanas. I think that's genius though, and they have like a Moët champagne bar, and it has like the Moët logo all over it, and there's like all this posh seating, and you can take that experience there. Princess has Princess Keys, white sand beaches, simple, beautiful, just the perfect little slice of the Bahamas, and then really the most glorious of all, if we're not talking like Royal Caribbean's Perfect Day, which is more of an adventurer's paradise. They have chill and they have cabana, they have couple stuff, but just for sheer serenity, Half Moon Cay is outstanding. So Holland America and Carnival both use it. They're building another part of the island called Relax Away, and that's gonna be more of a chill experience, but Half Moon Cay has the most powdery white sand you'll ever see, and when you walk in the water, you look down, you can see every bit of your toes. It's like this turquoisey, classic, you see it in the movies water, and every time I go there, I'll be, you'll be kind of moseying back to the tender, and you'll just see people who they don't want to leave. They're picking up a shell or two and they're walking back and they'll just look at you and they maybe haven't had a vacation in a year or two or 5 and they'll say, this is my idea of heaven because it's just it's really kind of unspoiled and there's no waves. It's like I don't know, it's not a lagoon. It's just for one reason or another because of the way it's situated, it's always this like blissfully calm water and it's fabulous. But I love them. I think they're great. I think it's smart too. Sometimes you got to contain things if you're a cruise company, right? You don't know. Yeah, obviously you can't help weather, but there's been all kinds of political unrest in certain areas like Labadee in Haiti became a place that Royal Caribbean couldn't use for a while. But generally speaking, the private islands are so easy to control. And I think when you control that, you also can control the guest experience.
Yeah.
I hope that they don't get carried away with $4,000 a day cabanas. I think Royal Caribbean has kind of gone off the deep end with what
Oh
they're
my god,
charging
that
for
new
a
one in
ticket.
Nassau, did you see that? The new one in Nassau, there's gonna be a $10,000 cabana. Now, it does include 12 people's entry to this it's basically a new private it's a private, destination experience that you pay for access to on Royal now. And it's in Nassau. But I was like, "Wow." I know 12 people is a lot of people, but still, like, $10,000 for a cabana? Like, you could buy a whole cruise for that. I mean, you could buy yeah. So one day, that just seems yeah, they it seems like they've kind of lost their mind there.
Which private island is it that's up from Lookout? Sam, is that, Half Moon?
It is Half Moon, yeah,
Yeah,
it's on,
yeah,
Mm.
Eleuthera, yeah.
And
Eleuthera,
you can
yeah.
see it from there?
You
You can
can
see the
see it
ship so
from the ship.
Disney and the other ships, they dock on the same side, but Disney's beach is on the opposite most of its beach
Oh,
is on the
wow.
opposite side of the island, so yeah, we've experienced the powdery white sand,
It's
it's
beautiful.
Oh,
glorious, it's
Yeah,
so
Eleuthera
glorious.
is
good,
amazing.
so
So it's
good.
the
Yeah,
southern tip of Eleuthera
Eleuthera.
that Disney now has as its second
Yeah.
private
Ugh.
destination. Yeah, it's incredible. All right, well, Sherry, Brian mentioned I previewed this question for you ahead of time. I told you I was before we started recording. I told you I wanted to ask you what your favorite cruise line was, and I guess and you said you have a qualified answer, but like I don't know if you're gonna jump on a ship tomorrow, like what's like what does your gut tell you? Like if you're gonna jump on a ship tomorrow, which ship do you want to be on?
Well, my family and I would literally live on a cruise ship in Japan if we could. We would tour that area. It's that impactful for us. So if you held my foot to the fire, I'd say just let me do every season on, Diamond Princess in Japan. I just wanna try every season because 'cause they're all so different, and the last time I went, it was August, it was Face of the Sun hot. The time before that, it was December, and now I need to do the fall foliage, I need to do the spring flowers. Like, I have FOMO on doing all those. I really truly don't have a favorite though because and it isn't really like that whole I can't name my favorite child thing. It's that they all offer something really different for me. If I had to tell you some of my favorite experiences though, like over time, there have been some cruises that stood out to me. Haven, on Norwegian Aqua, I had no idea how good it was really going to be, and I didn't think the food could be that good on a cruise. I just didn't even know that was possible. So that blew my mind. Also, MSC Yacht Club, we did Europe on MSC Yacht Club, and that was outstanding. And I know I'm kinda going into luxury here, but when I think about my family's those moments that were burned in Seabourn to Alaska, where you're getting out on a Zodiac and you're doing things by day, and the salad bar has 42 kinds of arugula, whatever. It's just it was outstanding.
I'm sorry, I don't even know that there are 42 kinds of
No, there
arugula.
aren't. I'm just being funny. You
I
like,
know.
you feel like you felt like that, though. I was like, if I wanted it, I could ask for it. But at the same time, like on Seabourn, I felt like my son when we walked through the halls, we had to be like, "Oh, shh." So there's pluses and minuses. But with that said, I have cruise princess the most. And if I want to relax on a cruise, I am going to go on Princess. I'm going to go on Holland America. I'm going to go on the MSC Yacht Club. I'm gonna go in the Haven on Norwegian. Like, it's gonna be one of those 4 for mom, right? My husband would just live in Japan. He'd be like, "I'm done." And my son would be like, "Give me all the action on Royal Caribbean, and then you guys can kinda drag me around to everything else if you want."
Well, Sherry, we have so appreciated being able to spend some time with you. If you ever get on a I mean, we really need to get you to Castaway Cay because I'd love to hear what
Yeah,
you think of Castaway Cay. But
and Lookout Key. Oh
yeah,
my
and look how key.
goodness.
But if you ever set foot on a Disney cruise ship, I hope you will reach out because we would love to hear what your thoughts were about Disney Cruise Line. But just have so appreciated being able to spend some time chatting with you and you taking some time to chat with our audience. It's been just fantastic. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. I feel like we're sitting in the same room. I feel like I've known you guys forever and that we're just here having a cup of tea, talking cruise. It's been so wonderful. So thank you for the invitation.
And definitely take a minute, remind folks where they can find you. I mean, they should be able to just find you easily, but tell folks where they can find you so that they can follow along with you and your adventures and all your great content too.
Absolutely. So you'll find us at Cruise Tips TV, cruise like cruise ship and Tips TV. It's really all one word when you type it in. But we also have a podcast called Cruise Tips TV Unplugged podcast, long form. My husband and I, sometimes we have guests. It's kind of chatty, like you guys do. Informational, but also chatty. Um, we are on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm on TikTok, but I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what I'm doing on TikTok. So you'll find me there, but I'm floundering around like an old lady. Um,
Much like on
but
Version,
lots
no
of
one wants to see me dancing that way. So yeah.
you should do it. Did you dance?
We did not. We
Oh
did not, thank
I
goodness.
God.
will. He won't. I will dance. Brian will not dance,
You know
really.
what? You know what? Our
No.
next big charity thing, Sam, we will agree to do a dance together on TikTok. That's
Oh,
what we'll
I
do for
love
our
that.
listeners,
That's a
yeah.
great idea.
You have to get a good trending, simple enough one, right? That you could like
Right.
learn it. For me, it has to be simple too. That is such a cute idea. You guys should do it. I love
Oh,
that. But yeah, and on Instagram, one thing I will tell people from an education standpoint too is if you need something, you can also Google it. Cruise Tips TV Alaska or Cruise Tips TV First Time Cruise, and something might come up that would be helpful for you. And everything's free, right? Like we all do this because we want to give people that wow feeling when they walk on a ship. So everything is out there for you guys to search for. And if you ever need anything, you can DM me and say, "Help, I don't know how many pairs of underwear I need for Alaska." I do respond to my DMs, even if
I
it's
love
about
it.
underwear and what kind of bra are you wearing with that strapless top. I get that. I get like someone will sneak into my DMs and say, "I have a question. It's really embarrassing. Is it okay if I ask?" And I'm like, "You're gonna ask me about a bra right now." So
Always.
it's really funny. But yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that. Oh my God,
I
Sherry, it's
know.
as Brian said, it's been such a pleasure having you. You are just delightful. We are big fans. I'm so appreciative. I know Brian is too, that you were willing to come on our little show in our corner of this cruising world. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been so amazing.
Thank you. And I hope I can convince you guys to come on my podcast sometimes too. I have an idea for a show and I'll tell you after.
ah,
Love
sounds
it.
great.
Okay, good.